Hi, my name's Paul Cresswell. Welcome to Paul's Tackle Reviews. The purpose of this channel is to give you reviews of tackle that's been out on the bank, tried and tested by an unbiased, unsponsored angler, and that's me. Today I'm looking at reels again because I just can't stop buying reels. Now somebody put a comment, when are you going to do long distance reels? Unfortunately, I just don't do that kind of fishing. Nearly all of my fishing, certainly on the feeder, is up to 50 metres. That's quite a long chuck for me, mainly kind of 20 to 40 metres, and that's the reels that I'm looking at. So last year I bought, when they came out, the Shimano Aero XR. And I've done a separate video on that reel on my channel. It's had thousands of reviews and I go into detail about that reel. Today I'm looking in detail at the Preston Centris 420NT reel that I've recently bought and been out testing. And what I will do towards the end of the video, I'll bring together my comments comparing the two, what I like and what I don't like about each of the reels. So this is the NT model, and they've just released a new model called, I think it's called the SD, which has got the speed drag mechanism. So that's where you go from next to no drag to full drag in only a few clicks, and Daiwa make a reel that has that, and Matrix do as well. Personally, that's not for me. I like lots of adjustment on the clutch. I do play fish on the clutch, but I don't want to go from next to nothing to a lot very, very quickly. So both of these reels, they're all in the kind of 130, 140 pound kind of region. I did buy this on a bit of a bargain from Angling Direct and it was 114 pounds. Likewise, I picked up one of these year before last in a Black Friday sale for 100 quid, but I think they are the kind of 120 to 140 pound reels out there. So let's look at the Preston, and the first thing I want to say, and I know this doesn't matter a lot, but it does come in a lovely padded box. So there we've got the spare spool, the reel in there, the double handle as well. So I thought that was great, and it came with a booklet with all the information about the reel. And really importantly, it tells you how to adjust the washers on the spool if your line lay isn't perfect. So you put your line on your spool and it's all gathered towards the bottom or the top. You know, you need to either put a washer in or take a washer out. When I did this reel, it did need adjusting, and I think I took a washer out. But that's good, because when I got the Aero, there was some washers in a bag, but there was no instruction about how to do it. Now, I'm an experienced angler, I've done that, but there'll be plenty of people out there who don't know how to do that. So it does come with a spare metal spool that's in the box, and to be honest, I tend to put a reel on a rod and it lives on that rod. But the spare spool's really handy for that first time that you're putting line on, because they are a little bit deep, some of the Centris spools, and therefore you need to put backing on. So what I do is put the line I'm going to use on first, then put the backing to get it perfect, then swap it over and then wind it all back on to the reel, so the backing's at the back and the line's at the front, and you've got exactly the right amount of line. I don't go super close to the top because I don't think you need to for the distances I'm looking at, but the line lay is excellent now on the Centris with the adjustment that I made. It does come with a double handle. Now, I've fished for a few years with double handle, then went back to single handle. And what I will say is the distance between the middle of the handle to the middle there is 4.5 centimetres on the double, so you get 9 across. When you look at the handle there, the distance from there to the middle of the handle is about 6.5 centimetres with the single handle. So it got exactly the same. And what I think with the longer stem is you feel like you get more cranking power, which is why I prefer a single handle. And I might well bung that on eBay because I'm never going to use it. And just in case anybody's wondering, I've also got a Preston magnitude reel, and the double handle from the Centris fits the magnitude as well. So I would say this is the perfect size for kind of feeder work for commercials or still waters up to 40-50 metres. It's a really nice size reel. The gear ratio, I think it's 5:1. It's it's what you want for the feeder. You might want something quicker for the waggler, but feeder, that's perfect. Each spool has got 2 line clips on it, which is useful. Don't very often use it, but sometimes you may be cast to a foul bank and then you're going to try somewhere else. You can leave it set up for the foul bank so you can go back to it later, and I just think it's a nice little feature. So the spools are quite deep, as I said, and you do need to put backing on them. So that's an empty spool, as you can see there. So does it tell me how much line it needs? No. Oh, here we go. Line capacity, 150 metres of 0.26. I think that's understating it, to be honest, because I tend to put 150s of 0.23 and I needed quite a lot of backing. So I think it needs a little bit more than that. If it had said 250 or 200 of 0.26, I'd have thought that was more right. So it does need some backing on the line, because who's going to have 200 metres of premium line on? You might as well put 100 metres and 100 metres of cheap backing line if you're only casting 40-50 metres. It has a really strong bail arm. I really like the bail arm on this particular reel. The handle folds down by undoing the nut on that side, moving it down a bit, and then the handle folds in to be used like that. Obviously, you can take the handle out and use it left or right-handed, as with all reels nowadays. What I will say about the spools is it does have a push button spool, so you push it and then the spool comes off, which years ago every reel had a push button spool. It was hardly a feature, but so many nowadays don't seem to have that. So I did quite like it. It's not going to save me a lot because, like I said, it tends to live on my rod ready made up. But it's a nice feature, and I just don't understand why we lost that. I had a Mitchell match early in the 80s that had a push button spool. Everything seemed to do at that time. The anti-reverse is on the back. Not an issue for me because I do now, after 35 years, I do play fish on the clutch. I do think it's better than back winding, and I have no problems playing fish on the clutch now. I use the clutch. This has got an excellent clutch, and I will say I don't think I've lost a fish because of this clutch. It's given line when it's need to. It's easy to adjust on the front there. I don't have any problem with the clutch. So like I said, I feel the size is bang on for this kind of fishing. It's got plenty of power, plenty of torque. You don't feel like the reel's twisting because it's struggling when it's under tension and you've got a good fish on. It's very smooth. I've had no tangles behind the spool. You know, sometimes some people get that. I am quite careful, and I now do all my bail arms manually rather than winding in. And I think sometimes if you get a bit of loose line and you wind straight away, that's when you can get tangles. So I do waggler or feeder fishing, cast out, and then turn the bail arm over manually as well. It weighs 325 grams. The Aero weighs 261 grams. Now, it didn't feel heavier on the reel. It's on the rod. It's obviously slightly heavier. I think it's within the range that's acceptable. You might remember I tried the Guru reel, which was 450 odd, and that felt really heavy. This one doesn't feel. And if you're feeder fishing, a lot of the time your rod's in a rest anyway. You're not holding it all day, so you're unlikely to notice the extra weight. So the things I don't like about the Centris, or could be improved, shall we say, is I do feel the spool's a little bit deep. Now, the Aero comes with deep spools, but it has a line reducer that you clip on that then means you need 100, 130 yards of kind of 8-pound line, and that's perfect. So I do feel they're a little bit deep. It's probably for the European market. We're not going to use this for casting 100 meters. You can have a long spool and a bigger reel for doing that kind of thing. I've showed you the handle mechanism, which is undoing that and then folding it in. And it's a little bit fiddly, especially in the middle of winter when your hands are cold and you're packing up and you can't quite get hold of it. And the mechanism on the Aero is you hold that and then you wind it down and then it folds in. So I do prefer the Aero mechanism for the handle, if you like. So the clutch on this is really, really good, and I would say it's a kind of 9 out of 10 clutch. It's great, it gives line, I've had no issues, lost no fish. What I will say about the Aero is I think the clutch is 10 out of 10. It's as good as I've used. And quite often you're playing a better fish and you can just hear one little tick and so you know in your mind, yeah, the clutch is good, and if there's a run, it's going to go. It doesn't do that kind of odd little click on the Preston, but it's always given line when the pressure's on. So back to the Aero, and I've been using this for some time, and I can't remember when it came out. Probably 18 months. I've got 2 of these. It's been super smooth. I've just not had any problems with the Aero. No line wrapping behind. A super adjustable clutch. It's just the kind of reel that you don't have to think about because it just does whatever you want when you're using it. Now, it's probably slightly smaller than the Preston, and I've tried to measure the diameter of the spools, and there was only 1, maybe 2 mil that's slightly bigger, but there isn't much in it. I think it might just be an optical illusion, but the Preston looks a little bit bigger than the Aero. So what's my overall conclusion about this? And what I will say is neither is perfect for me. So I think if I was making the perfect reel out of these 2 or out of any, I would like the body and the size and the weight of the Centris. I like the spools with the 2-line clips, the push button spools, the bail arm. I think in terms of line lay, either reel, they're both absolutely excellent. I do prefer the handle mechanism on the Shimano. I like the spool reducers so you don't have to put too much line on. And I do prefer the clutch. So this is a 10 out of 10, that's a 9 out of 10. Now if you don't use the clutch, you're not going to notice. It's not a deal breaker, but this one has a slightly better clutch. So the big question when we get to the end, if I was buying a new reel from scratch, which of these two would I choose? And it's a really tough decision, and I've been umming and ahhing, and I think what I've finally concluded is if I was buying a reel for up to 40-50 metres for a feeder reel, given my experience on the slightly bigger Centris, I'd probably go for, and this isn't either of them, but I'll probably go for the 5000 model of the Shimano, and that would give me slightly more size. It only weighs 5 grams more, there's nothing in it, but to be honest, if all my rods have got Centris reels on, I'd be really happy. If they all had Shimano reels, I'd be really happy. I don't think there's much between the two. I think it's a little bit nuanced there. Neither's perfect, but they're both brilliant reels. That's it for today. I hope you found that interesting. If you want to give me a thumbs up and a like, that's great. If you want to subscribe, I've got more videos coming. It's finally stopped raining and blowing a gale, so I can get out on the bank filming. I have been filming a rod that I'm going to bring, a pellet waggler rod, to compare to one I've already got. 80 videos on my channel. Have a look at those. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, put them below. I'll try and get back to you if you've got a question. If you want any more information, then just put it down below, and as soon as I see it, I'll get back to you. Until next time, tight lines.